Welcome back, everyone, to Mental Magic 8 of 2023. You hear us talk about the intelligent powers in nature and humans in the Unfolding Consciousness series and in the Objects of Theosophy. We talk about the investigation of the unexplained laws or hidden mysteries of nature and the psychic powers that are latent, which means dormant, in mankind. What is the origin of this law of attraction? What is this universal energy, this infinite, eternal energy from which all things proceed? I'm going to start with something from Gottfried de Piracher from his Inner God. He writes, mystics of all the ages have united in teaching this fact of the existence and ever-present power of an individual inner God in each human being as the first principle or primordial energy governing the progress of man out of material life into the spiritual. Indeed, the universal principle is so perfectly universal and is so consistent with everything that man knows when he really reflects over the matter of his own spiritual and intellectual nature that it is a small wonder that this doctrine should have acquired the foremost place in human religious and philosophical consciousness. Indeed, it may be called the very foundation stone on which were built the great systems of religious and philosophical thinking of the past, and rightly so, because this doctrine is founded on nature herself. It is nature. Nature is the church. The inner God in man, man's own inner essential divinity, is the root. It is the root of all of us, where flows forth an inspiring stream and streams into the psychological apparatus of our constitutions. All the inspirations of genius, all the urgings towards betterment, all the powers, all the faculties. This is where they come from. All characteristics of individuality which blossom through evolution into individual manifestation are the fruit of the workings of this force in man's constitution, this life-giving and inspiring stream of spiritual energy. The radiant light which streams forth from our immortal center or core of our innermost being, this divine spark, which is our inner God, lightens the pathway for each and every one of us. And it is from this light that we obtain ideal conceptions. And it is by this radiant light in our hearts that we can guide our feet toward an even larger fulfilling in our daily lives of the beautiful conceptions which we, as mere human beings, dimly and barely conceive or perceive, as the case may be. The divine fire which moves through universal nature is the source of the individualized divine fire coming from mankind's inner God. The modern Christian mystics call this inner God the Christ immanent, the immanent Christos. In Buddhism, it's called the living Buddha within. In Brahmanism, it is spoken of as the Brahma in his Brahmapura or Brahmasiddhi, which is the inner constitution. You can call it whatever name you want. Whatever it is, the reflective and mystical mind intuitively realizes that there works through him a divine light, and that this, by whatever name we call it, is himself. It is our own essential self. Now, I threw in a couple of my own little things in there just to make the words more modern, but that's Gottfried de Piracher from the Occult Glossary, page 76 and 77. So welcome to Mental Magic 8. Know that your thoughts create your reality. We are all doing it subconsciously. We're doing it passively right now. Our lives are a reflection of our minds. In each week, we read through this book, which is called The Secret of Mental Magic, written down by William Walker Atkinson. I massage Atkinson's text a little bit just to make it somewhat easier to understand. It was written back in 1907, but I'm not changing the context, so here we go. Telementation. I shall use another new term, he's writing here. I shall use another new term in these lessons, which it may be well to explain at this point. He's using telementation to indicate the action of the mind over a distance, over a mentative current, long-range mental influence. The word tele comes from Greek, and it means far, like telephone or telegraph. And he doesn't want to use telepathy here. He feels that that isn't accurate, even though now in 2023, that's the word we use for this. It's pretty much the same thing. The underlying energy, which we just talked about, and to a consideration of the nature of this mental energy or activity, Atkinson writes, let us begin with the mind itself. As we know, no one knows just exactly what the mind is. We don't know, although nearly every writer on the subject has indulged in a scientific guess at what it is. The secret remains wrapped up in the secret of everything, which no man knoweth, he says. Atkinson does not attempt to indulge in a metaphysical speculation in these lessons. If you want that sort of thing, there's all kinds of books and all kinds of libraries about that. He says, but we must have a beginning. We have to start somewhere, really, for the study of mentative energy. And here we go, all right? Brushing aside for the moment all the theories as to the inner nature of our minds. And he says he finds himself unable to escape that he believes there is an infinite, he understands there is an infinite and eternal energy from which all things proceed. We just talked about that. And he believes that all exists, everything that exists here in the phenomenal world is a manifestation of universal energy. And further, he says, I'm compelled to believe that as personal manifestations of mine emanate from the universal energy, then this universal energy must contain mind. For there is an indisputable law of logic that whatever is evolved as a result must be involved as a forefather, a progenitor, a previous creator. Basically, he's saying that you can't get something out of a thing unless that something is already in it. That's our minds, part of the universal mind. He writes here, the universal mentative energy. And moreover, I'm compelled to think that the presence of mind is perceptible in everything in nature. I hold that there is mind in the plant, otherwise it could not grow and shape itself. And further, I welcome heartily the teachings of the most advanced physical science, which holds that in the atoms and the particles that go to make up the atoms, there is to be found evidence of life and mind in operation. Everything is conscious. And more than this, I welcome as brothers those who assert that as all forms and shapes of material life are seen to dissolve into the ether from which they arose, then consequently there must be mind in the ether itself. Otherwise, there would be no mind in the physical atoms. And so, without asking you to attach yourself to any metaphysical, philosophical, or religious theory, or any teaching, because that's up to you, Atkinson points out here the fact, now admitted by the world's greatest thinkers, and this was 120 years ago, finally, there is found an infinite and eternal energy, a mentative energy in its nature, and of which all things are evolved manifestations. This is where everything comes from. And using this as a foundation, I hold that all the individual or personal manifestations of mind seen in ourselves or in others are but centers of mentative energy in the great substance of universal mentative energy. All right? Our minds are part of the greater, our consciousness is part of the greater consciousness. Our mind is part of the greater universal mind, which created everything. Energy operates like electricity. This is very much like electricity. Whatever mind is, he says, in its ultimate nature, the leading thinkers on the subject now hold that the way that mind operates, the way it works, is similar to those followed by electricity, the laws followed by electricity. So, like electricity, the mind undoubtedly has two poles or phases. Like electricity, it travels in currents. It does. Like electricity, it operates by induction. Like electricity, it's vibratory in nature. And like the higher forms of energy, super electrical in nature, it possesses radio-like activity or radiant energy. That means it's constantly throwing off streams of active energy in the shape of rays, vibrations, or waves. Let's say that again. The mind is constantly throwing off streams of active energy in the shape of rays, all right, or vibrations or waves. Recent scientific discoveries have proven this, and in the coming years, he says, the world will be startled by additional discoveries along these lines, which indeed we already have discovered. Again, this was written in 1907, and Atkinson writes here that back in the early 1900s, they were receiving hints of mental photographs or radiographs, and before long, he says, we will have mentometers. Now, we don't call them mentometers, but they're going to be registering the telemental waves, and he's saying, please mark this prophecy in January 1907. And he goes, I wonder how soon it's going to come to fruition. We have come a long way, and I wonder what Atkinson would think about our world of today. I'm so grateful for his contributions. I am so grateful for him. Seriously, his work in the 14 lessons in yogi philosophy and Oriental occultism was the introduction for me to the Theosophical teachings, and it's what I was looking for all of my life. I'm so passionate about it that I voiced his work and put it up here on the channel. It's available for free. Remember, he's one of the authors of the Kabbalion, and his work is now, it's seeing lots of movement. Good for him. It's not about him, it's about the teachings. Remember, you are strongly advised, all right, against using this powerful, this creative law to attract something or someone who belongs to someone else. And never use it to manifest something that would harm anybody else. Now listen, you can learn from me, or you can learn the hard way, all right? The karmic debt that you will earn is colossal and so very painful. Please, you have been warned. But on a brighter note, you can use this law to help yourself. You can create the life that you desire, that you deserve, and you can use this law to help all beings on planet Earth, because that is what it's here for. If you are getting anything out of these, please share them. Share them, like, subscribe, whatever, just to get them out, because I think other people are looking for them, and also to use them for the reason they're intended to use. Anyway, I love you, and I'll see you next Saturday. Thanks for being here.